Life is a winding road, no telling where it goes. Driving through days and nights, won't stop for traffic lights. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down. Jumping from cliffs so high, trusting our wings to fly. Sometimes we're crashing down, but we get up and start from the ground. And I really wanna know, if I will ever figure out where the road goes. Even if I'm falling down, I will keep on searching for my highs. You can say I lost my mind, I will keep on holding my head high. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down. Even if the sky is falling down, even if the sky is falling down, yeah. The sky is falling down.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Tuesday Tea Time. I am Icky Taime, hanging out with you today. I hope everything's going well. I'm really excited today. We're going to be hanging out with Roxana Polacias. She's the coordinator for Maryvale Community-Based Services. She's a facilitator for a positive way of life. She's an all-around amazing person. She's going to be hanging out with us talking about mental health and the effects that COVID-19 has had on the mental health issue in our world today. You're not going to miss out. But if you're just joining us, hit that like button, drop a say hello to us, and why don't you go ahead and subscribe? You can subscribe to us over at the One House YouTube channel. We'd love that. I promise I'm always going to be kicking out something positive and good for your life. And if you want to get notified, let me know. So this time during the week is really just me and some homies connecting and talking about good things, making sure that we're creating enough content out there so that if you perchance are needing some love or some help or looking for some bright ideas, you'll be able to find it here. And of course, today is no exception with Roxana. She's here with us now. We're going to be talking in a few minutes. But before we get there, I do wanted to mention that next week, we're going to be talking about fighting hate, and we're going to be looking at the issue of discrimination, violence, and hate crimes against our AAPIs, Asian American and Pacific Islander community. I'm going to have on Diane Ugie and Eugene Abano. We're going to be hanging out and talking, so you're not going to miss that convo. Feel free to come in here, drop your 2 cents, and let's talk and grow and live life together, building communities together. And of course, May 16th to May 23. I cannot press this enough on all of you guys. We're going to have a week of prayer for Southern California Conference. All of our churches, we're going to be putting it out there for young adults, but as well as for youth and as well for families. The theme is Thrive, and we're going to be talking all things mental health. Our speaker for the week is going to be Dr. Myron Edmonds. Dr. Myron Edmonds. If you don't know who that is, jump on YouTube, pop on his stuff, and check him out. He's a phenomenal communicator of the gospel. We're going to have the LA County Department of Mental Health with us. They're going to be taking on the workshops. We're going to be having all kinds of engagements. We've got almost 30 churches right now that are collaborating with us to make this happen. So you're not going to miss out. May 16th to 23. I can't press that enough on you. Write it down in your calendars or hit me up and make sure you get enough information to jump on with us. That's pretty much what I've got for us. So let's get on over and get this convo started. Yeah? All right, everybody. Roxana, what is going on?
Hi there. Hi, how are you?
How are you doing?
Doing good. It's a pretty nice day out today, which, in Southern California, it's always up and down, so you never really know what you're going to get, which today is nice, which I'm thankful
That's
for.
true. But you're never going to get anything super horrible here in Southern California. It's not going to be like a blizzard outside. So that is kind of nice, especially since we're in winter season. Roxana, what are you drinking today?
Today, I am drinking a vanilla sweet cream cold brew, which I know it's tea time, but for me, it's coffee time. So it's coffee, which, is very much needed. And
Look, I'm a huge fan of cold brew. I take mine nice and black, but yeah, that sounded sweet and nice and all things spice. So congratulations. Right? Roxana, your name is Roxana Polacias, right? Polacias?
Yes.
What is your Palacios? What is your nationality? What's your background?
My background, I am Mexican. I'm Hispanic. My family, my parents were from Mexico.
Full on both sides.
Full on both sides, yes.
Right on, yep. Right on. All right.
Yeah. And then,
what got you interested in helping communities? Tell us a little bit about the role that you are in right now, and then fill us in on how you got interested in doing that. Please, Roxana.
Yes, sure. So currently, what I'm doing at the moment you're talking to you, right? But no, as my
Yeah, true.
Where I work at a nonprofit agency. We provide mental health services. I'm an intake coordinator at Maryvale, and we, like I said, we provide mental health services for the community. And then prior to being in that role, I was a facilitator for a program called Wraparound, where we pretty much, yeah, it's a very important program to many families that we work with. And basically what it is, it's you have 4 employees, 4 different staff, each with their own unique role, who assist the family that is. And we provide therapy, we provide rehabilitation services for behaviors. We have a parent partner that works very closely with the caregiver or the guardian. So very important work that these guys and girls are doing. Their roles are very unique, and like the community-based services that we provide. And so how I got into this is I'm just very passionate and interested in our communities, right? Who isn't?
Yeah.
And I think it takes, I did a lot of my, when I was working on my graduate school, I did a lot of my research in the Latino communities. And that's kind of where my interest came from, with seeing the different strengths and the different positives that are within our communities that were not being highlighted by, I guess, what is mainstream of what the positives or what strengths are to many people that we kind of see from our day to day. So we really have to dig in to really see what the positives are within each individual person, with each individual community. And I also got to see the other side of it, where there are many disparities from community to community, where there are less resources available to certain communities. There are less resources that they can access, whether it's because of transportation or cost, whatever it may be. So now working for this agency at Maryvale, it helps to bridge that gap. We are in within the San Gabriel Valley, where there are many agencies here that help our families. They help provide the resources, whether it be mental health, whether it be housing, food, transportation. If you look for it, if you look online, then you'll probably find something, which is a step in the right direction. But there's still many things that we can do to assist our communities.
That's major, because the disparities in a community, when you move from one community to another, really has serious implications on children and how far they're able to get in life. And so you guys are doing some great stuff. Maryvale, you guys are doing some phenomenal stuff. What did you do your graduate work in? If you don't mind me asking.
No, of course. I graduated through child development, and I studied child and family studies.
All right. Okay. Very good. That's nice. Now, did this passion, you see, everybody, welcome on. I'm hanging out with Roxana right now. She's a coordinator for Maryvale-based services in the San Gabriel Valley. We're going to get into the mental health issue, and then we're going to talk about how COVID-19 has affected that. But we're just filling in on Roxana's story. Actually, Roxana, this is the first time I've met you as well. So I'm kind of like learning and like we're growing a relationship here. Great job. Okay. When you were, did you grow up here in SoCal?
I did. Yeah, I grew up here. Born and raised Southern California. I did move away for about 2 years, where I went to the Midwest to finish.
Hey, listen, nobody's perfect. We're not going to judge you for those 2 years.
And then I grew a lot. And then
grew a lot, came on home.
Had to come back home.
Good. Fantastic. So when you were a kid growing up, Roxana, did any of this kind of bubble up in you? Was it like you felt like a calling to help people, or was this something that kind of birthed in you because you mentioned like you started really getting more passionate in graduate school. So I'm just wondering what the connection between childhood and graduate school looked like for you.
So I didn't always want to, it's not like I was, 5 years old thinking I want to be, an intake coordinator in a nonprofit organization when I grow
Right.
up.
Right.
It was,
You didn't have little
I always,
dolls to play with like that? No?
I might, I don't know. I'm going to have to ask my mom. But it was, from what the youngest from what I can remember, it was from wanting to be like an astronaut to like, I think it was like an optometrist. And then when I took my first psychology class in 12th grade high school, that's when I was like, okay, well, this is interesting. Mental health and learning about, the brain and how people communicate and emotions and all that good stuff. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't until I was finishing my undergrad where all of my papers, all of everything I was turning in always was surrounding like the family unit, the community and how the community can help, the outcomes of an individual, and then where the gaps are within the community. And it was actually one of my college professors. I was like, you're always going back to this subject of communities and family and how there's a collective whole. Like, have you thought about learning more about this and going to school for this? And so that's where, she kind of pushed me to go to graduate school. And then when I was in graduate school, I had another professor who was all about the community, and she was always doing community projects and doing focus groups within, the different school districts that were near the community. And all of this was unpaid, right? So she obviously had her job. She also had these other projects that she was working on her own. And I was thinking, wow, this, powerful person who I look up to, and she became a huge role model for me, really investing her education, her time, her resources, and giving back to those who may not have access to these resources. And then that's where I am now.
That's where it got going, huh?
That's, wanting to give back and wanting to learn more importantly, about what we can do. I've been very blessed with everything that I have, and always wanting to give back and always wanting to do more for others.
What's the name of that professor? Do you remember?
Of both. My undergrad professor is Dr. Posey, and Dr. Posey, and then for my graduate school was Dr. Kuyumdijan, which she would always call us Dr. K. So Dr. K.
Right,
and
Dr. K. Dr. K and Dr. Posey, we want to give them a shout out for the time they put in to create amazing agents of goodness in the world. You guys rock. Yeah, I hope you show this video to them later and let them know you all rock. For that, we give you an applause. Sweet. Fantastic work. Fantastic work. URF Church, welcome. Thank you so much for dropping that comment. Very true. They mentioned that Maryvale is awesome. They had done some stuff, and the church provided some games and stuff like that back in 2017. So there is some connections here, Roxana. The Spirit is already led. God was already doing some stuff. Then he threw you in here because you're awesome at continuing to move this forward. Yes, and Ileana, yes, I agree. Thank you for your outstanding advocacy on behalf of the communities. Roxana, thank you. That's great. Let's move into some mental health. Are you ready? Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Let's go.
Yes.
If you are, yes, Queen with Roxana. Roxana is the coordinator for Maryvale-based services from San Gabriel. We're going to be talking about mental health. In fact, we're shifting into that right now. So make sure that you are tuned in and share this. By the way, if you didn't already do it, hit that subscribe and like button. Plus, May 16th to the 23rd, I'm going to keep saying this to you. We're doing a week of prayer here in Southern California for all of our Southern California area on mental health. The theme is going to be Thrive. Dr. Myron Edmonds is our devotional speaker. LA County Department of Mental Health will be doing the workshops and presentations. Bring your youth along, bring your young adults, bring your families. It's going to be amazing. Roxana, let's go. First question for you here is, what is the relationship between mental illness and mental health? People may have been hearing both of these terms. They may have been confusing them. Can you give us what are the relationships between these two?
Yeah. So we, like you said, we may have heard these two terms before at some point in our lives, probably even more so within this past year. throwing in a pandemic and throwing in many other stressors. Mental health as a whole it includes different areas of our lives. And so mental health includes our emotional, psychological, social well-being. And it affects how we think, how we feel, how we act, and how we cope with life and how we cope with our everyday to day. And it also helps to determine how we handle our stress and how we relate that to others and how we make our choices. So that's mental health. And then when we, I think, specifically talk about mental illnesses, would be something that you or anybody can be diagnosed with. So after they've been assessed, after they've been evaluated, that would be the mental illness that one has been diagnosed with. For example, there's different anxiety disorders. There are behavioral, emotional disorders in both children and adults. There's depression. We can see some eating disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders. So these are things that we would have to be evaluated for, be assessed for, and then from a professional be given this diagnosis of a mental illness. So just because we talk about—
There are many people that are going on right now that are undiagnosed simply because they're afraid to go get checked.
There might be, there might be the, kind of like the analogy that when you talk about mental illnesses is, about something physical, a physical illness. If you, again, just giving this example currently right now during COVID, if you were experiencing, a high fever, coughing, chest ache, you'd probably want to think, oh, let me go to the doctor to see if they will diagnose me with some sort of illness. It's the same with mental health, with our, for experiencing maybe, just to think about some symptoms, some severe, maybe sadness or anxiety or fear of situations. You may want to think, is this maybe normal, or should I just talk to somebody? Maybe there is something bigger that I don't know because I'm not a doctor. Let me go to somebody who will know.
Very good.
And so many times we may come across that uneasiness of, should I go talk to somebody about this? And it can be nothing, or it can be something worse. There might be that fear of, well, what are they going to say? What are they going to diagnose me with? What are others going to say, right? We unfortunately, I believe it was talked about last week or a couple of weeks back, the stigma of mental health and kind of like how others will see us once we try and seek out help. So there might be people out there that are undiagnosed, but again, it's about wanting to maybe get more information if you feel that kind of uneasiness.
Yeah, Isabel did a great job covering stigma last week. By the way, if you're watching and you're interested in learning about, hearing about stigmas, Isabel covered that last week in our conversation. What are some forms of mental health issues that people are experiencing more today than ever, in light of, even in light of COVID-19?
I would say that a lot of the just research that I was looking at, there's definitely been an increase in anxiety disorders, a fear of either maybe contracting this illness or just the anxiety of maybe our loved ones or who we care for that might get this illness. Now that we see the distance learning and more children and young adolescents being at home, as caregivers or parents, you might see that firsthand. Well, I don't know, they're acting a lot different, or maybe they're just how their behavior is, their emotions. They might have some sort of, like I said earlier, emotional or behavioral disorders with our children or young adolescents. Depression, there has been an increase in depression as well, of just the isolation that many of us are experiencing due to the pandemic and the protocols that have been put in place of social distancing and things being closed and not being able to go to school or work. So those are a couple that probably have been increased.
And Roxana, could you share maybe some stats or some facts about mental health that would be nice for viewers to get a grip on?
Yeah, so I was looking at some information from the World Health Organization, as well as the Center for Disease Control and the Kaiser Family Foundation. What I came across was that there was actually a study that the World Health Organization, there was a survey with 130 countries, and they found that there have been 70% of countries that have adopted telemedicine or some sort of teletherapy to be able to help with in-person services, since a lot of these services were closed, right? Or I don't want to say shut down, but there was a lot of restrictions, right? So instead of having person-to-person therapy, there was only using phones or using only through telehealth. So even though there was probably a spike in these disorders, in these concerns, or that these symptoms, such as anxiety, depression, a lot of the services were actually decreased, which when you look at it, it doesn't really make sense.
Right.
And then also when we're looking at, let's say, adults experiencing job loss or income insecurity, which we see a lot of our communities were struggling with that, or currently are still struggling with that.
Yeah.
The adults that were experiencing household job loss during the pandemic have consistently reported actual higher rates of symptoms of anxiety or depression disorder compared to adults that did not experience job loss. And that was,
and you could imagine
50%.
because of what's happening in our economy, you could imagine how that's affecting a lot of our families. There may be some of you may be watching right now that's affecting you, right? Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. And then also looking at adolescents. So prior to the pandemic, more than one in 10, which is about 16% of adolescents that took the study, ages 12 to 17 had anxiety or depression. And then now that increased to about 15%.
Wow.
And so there's definitely an increase in, that isolation. And we're seeing now a lot of those, the effects of that.
Yeah, I was just about to ask if you guys were actually seeing some of those effects. Wow.
Yeah, we are. And a lot of as mentioned earlier, I'm the intake coordinator for my agency. And when families call seeking for services, or we have other referring parties asking if we're taking referrals, the common concern or the common symptom that I've been getting a lot of why they're requesting services is that the anxiety, the depression, just behavioral issues happening at home. And this is specifically for like school-aged individuals that are trying to look for these services, that the parents or caregivers are looking for services. Prior to the pandemic, we were not seeing as many so frequently. And that's that I think schools are starting to open up, or starting to cut back on so many restrictions, or like the distance learning. Once those all lift, I am very certain that we're going to have a lot more people wanting services, and not just for their young children, but maybe even adults that finally, take that step and realize, well, if I'm seeking these services for my children, maybe I should will benefit from for myself as well.
For sure. I want to just take a quick moment and point out something that Roxana had said subtly, which is you are not alone, basically. They are seeing a high rate of this, meaning if you're struggling through something, anxiety, if you're struggling through a little bit of depression, if you're struggling through some of this stuff, please don't feel like you're the only person dealing with this. This is, and if you're going through it, it's okay to share that with someone and to talk about it, because it's imperative that we are able to, as a community, get our hands around this and help our teenagers, our elementary school kids, our young adults, our families, maybe our parents, maybe you young professionals who had some great hopes for your job, and because of this whole economic issue and the pandemic, you've lost it and you're feeling really insecure about life. The one thing you probably shouldn't do is just try to keep it to yourself. You aren't alone going through this kind of stuff. And so we've got to be clear about that. Make sure that it's all right to be going through something, especially right now. Don't be hard on yourself and don't be hard on others. Things are happening around us. Now, Upper Room Fellowship made a great point just a little bit ago. I threw it up, and that is many people perceive mental illness to be a taboo of some sort, that it's not good. And so because of that issue, because it has that stigma, as we talked about last week, it causes people to shut down and not talk about it. But why do we need to talk about it more, Roxana?
So I think we need to talk more about mental health to, like you said, have this conversation and have that beginning step. Talking about mental health makes it less of a taboo, and talking about it will help improve our communities by making it more acceptable for those that are going through a mental illness to seek help. If you're hearing about it more, if you're having more casual conversations about it, people will probably feel more comfortable about opening up about their own struggles and their own concerns. And in addition, mental health, as stated earlier, isn't just about mental illnesses. It's also about maintaining positive state of well-being. So one shouldn't wait until you're really, just down and you're like at the end of, okay, well, I've struggled with this for years, and okay, maybe it's time to go to somebody now. You don't have to be at that point to seek help.
Right.
From the very beginning, if you're willing and if you're open to receiving services, as soon as you have that, like I said, those feelings of maybe like check yourself and really think, okay, am I at my best right now? I'm not. How can I be? So it's about also maintaining a positive well-being. So even if you've already received therapy and before, it's not like a one and done, like just because you've gone before and one therapist said, there's nothing wrong with you, you're fine. That doesn't mean that nothing else in the future will happen again. There might be a different stressor, there might be a recent trigger that occurs in your life where it onsets something. And so then, that's when one should, talk more about the mental health and seek services. It also helps to remove the stigma. So talking about it more will, on a regular basis as a society, hopefully will unveil some false notions of different topics. So a lot of these topics of, mental illnesses or specific disorders have very negative views from either maybe like movies or TV shows, or, I heard of somebody that once had this and they were like this. So then if my neighbor has it, they're probably like that too. So not to put false myths on, don't put a label on it.
Church folk, we're good at putting labels on things. God help us.
And then in addition to that, with mental health disorders are growing, and because more people are reporting it. And so if there's more people talking about it, there's more people reporting it, there's more people going to services, it becomes less of a stigma. So I think those are probably the main reasons why talking about it will help not only ourselves, we may not be the ones experiencing it, but our close ones to us might be, or our community might be. And the more we talk about it, the more maybe resources will come into our communities or our cities or our churches, and the more services and resources we have, it puts everybody on the right road, on the right path to being better emotionally, socially.
That's so true. That's so true. These are the reasons why it's very important for us to continue to talk about it and to continue to approach it, even if it feels kind of awkward too. Or I know that oftentimes when you're going through something, you feel like, like if I share this, somehow it's going to make me seem weak or less of a human being, less of a woman, less of a man. And especially in church talk, right? Like if I say I'm struggling through depression, people are going to think I don't have enough faith or I'm not praying enough. And these are all like myths. These are all fallacies that we tell ourselves, and it's counterproductive to us healing as an individual as well as healing as a community. So we need to really dive in there and get on this. Just like my girl Betsy said. What's up, Betsy? Thank you for jumping on with us. Yes, it will empower someone else to do the same. So let's share and let's be about talking about the stuff. and it'll help all of us. Roxana, thank you for taking this time to be with us today and really diving into mental health. We're going to move into the 3-2-1 hack section, everybody. This is the section, if you're just watching for the first time, where we do a 3-2-1 practical tips on particular areas that belong to the wheelhouse of our guest. So this is the educational value piece. If you are wanting to get some good info, here's the moment. Pull out your Apple Pen or your pencil and open up your app or your scroll or whatever you take notes on, and take some notes, because Roxana's about to break it down for us in 3 particular areas where it'll be helpful to us somewhere in the field of mental health. Roxana, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. Let's do this. Betsy, we love and appreciate you. Thank you for, you know what? I'm just going to call Betsy out real quick. Betsy always puts up something on Facebook. She's always being real. She's always sharing stuff from the innards. And so she's an agent of goodness in the world that we need to do more of. So I'm thanking her for doing that as well. So we're going to do the 3-2-1 hacks. These were going to be practical tips. The first one is, can you give us 3 tips how not to engage or talk to someone who is going through mental health issues?
Yeah, so these are things to not do or to not say.
This is for my old school parents. So just putting this out there. Old school parents, you know who you are. Where you be like, what's wrong with you? You know who you are. Y'all be doing this all the time. Some of you old school brothers, big brothers, old school sisters, man, just slap him. That's what he needs. Just get over yourself, right? 3 things, 3 ways on how not to engage or talk to someone who's going through this.
Yeah, so one of them being, someone approaches you and talks to you, being vulnerable to you, talking about their mental health. Please don't respond with, it's all in your head. Just it's just you, it's all in your head, and then go about your day. Change the subject. No, please don't do that. If someone is opening up to you and being vulnerable, whether it's their first time telling you this, whether it's been a long time since this person engaged in conversation with you, if they approach you and talk to you about something, please listen and just be there for them.
Good
second one, the second one would be to say, oh, come on, things could be worse. You don't have it that bad. Just, it can be a lot worse. So don't, make them feel smaller. Don't, judge what they're saying or compare them. Well, so-and-so, they lost all of these things. What you're going through is not that important. It's not that big of a deal.
Minimizing their
don't
situation.
Minimize.
Wow.
Yes.
Right.
So that's what not to do, right?
Right.
And then the next one would be, well, have you tried, and you fill in the blank, right? So have you tried drinking this chamomile tea with a little drizzle of honey, in the microwave for 10 seconds? Or have you tried these essential oils? Or have you tried going on a run every day? These are good things. I'm not going to, these are good things, but when someone is talking to you about, mental health, don't just throw advice at them. Really listen to what they have to say.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Can I just want to butt in here. As a parent, we have little kids, and as a parent, it's so easy for us to give them the answer. Like, I always just want to be like, buck up. It'll be fine. Come on. You've got nothing to worry about. All you do is eat, sleep, and sit at home. It's easy for us to rationalize as adults because, our minds are more mature. We've processed a lot of our life. So we put this mantle on our children as if they're supposed to have had it processed as much as we do. And so we do this to them. And in actuality, sometimes they just need us to be still and listen, and empathize. So I think that was fantastic tips. Thank you so much for that, Roxana. Take us to 2 tips. We're going to move to 2 tips, everybody. I hope you wrote those 3 down. Give us 2 tips for coping in the moment when you are feeling overwhelmed. When your spirit is just this, you're at the edge. Don't push me because I'm close to the edge. I'm trying not to lose my head. What are 2 things that someone can do to cope through that?
All right, 2 things. The first one being probably one of the most quickest and simplest to do. It's something we do every day and hardly need to think about it, is to take deep breaths, right? So we're all breathing as it is, but just to take that moment to just like inhale, exhale, okay? Do that maybe a couple times, but just pausing what you're doing, taking a break from maybe you were on your phone or you read something you didn't want to, or you were told something that kind of made you feel really angry or upset, or you're just really stressed in the moment, to help regulate your breathing again, to help regulate that heartbeat. That'll just kind of bring you back down. So practice deep breathing exercises, and this you can teach very, very young age. I'm a parent of 2 little ones, and whenever they're feeling their big emotions, as they should, right? Because they're human and they have emotions. I try to practice that with them. And, you have a little, 2-year-old trying to take deep breaths with like their snot just like shooting out everywhere.
They're blowing little bubbles.
Yeah. But, I'm trying to teach them, young, to be able to regulate themselves, and, trying to teach them young. And so deep breathing. Practice it next time you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed. I'm sure it'll feel loads better.
I took my kids skiing last weekend, and they had never, ever, ever, ever done that before, and we were pretty optimistic about how great they were going to be, as parents overdo all the time. But let me tell you, I had to walk away and do some deep breathing. Quite a number of times, to recenter myself. And it's a very good thing to do. Yes.
It's important to practice.
Yeah. What's the second one?
That's the first one. The second one is practice some grounding techniques. So what that means, in the most simple way I can explain, is to just focus on one of your 5 senses, and then use those senses to notice the things around you. And so if you're utilizing your sense of hearing, try to maybe even close your eyes if you need to, and just try to notice the things that are going on around you that you can hear, or the things you can see or touching, or something you can smell, or something you're tasting. So try to bring it back to your senses to ground yourself when your emotions are very high, using our senses to ground ourselves. Right? It's a grounding technique. So so that's my second one, to utilize our senses to try and
you had mentioned, when we were talking earlier, you had mentioned essential oils as a good thing to do. Now listen, I'm not trying to make you essential oils people angry at me. Please know that I love you. But I don't know if I love your essential oils so much. My wife is a big essential oils person, and it's like they want to use it for everything. Did the bear bite you? Here, put some essential oils on it. No, take me to the ER, please. I need a leg back. No, just essential oil it. It'll be fine, right? They got essential oils for every smell, every sore, every. So if you need to do that by all means. But don't press it on anybody else, please. We don't want it as much as you want it.
Yes, Roxana? If that works for you, please use it. Go for it.
Roxana, you can be honest with me. Do you use essential oils? It's fine if you do.
I don't. I can't say that I do. I think I had a couple bottles here and there, but I'm not an essential oils user. No. Okay. Sorry to disappoint you all.
All right, let's go to one tip. Give us one tip on finding the right person to confide and support you through your need for accountability and strength and help with mental health.
So one tip is to find someone that you can trust and talk to and be vulnerable with, whoever that may be, right? It can be someone within your family. It can be maybe a friend. It can be if you are seeking therapy services, confiding in your therapist. That's what they're there. That's what they're there for, to help listen, to help guide, to for you to be vulnerable with. And then also being able to not hold back from this person. And so once you really find somebody who you want to be vulnerable with and talk to not have to always be happy for this person. I think one thing that I know I'm guilty of, when somebody asks me, how are you? And you just want to say you're good. You want to say you're okay because you don't want to bring this person down. You don't want to have a lengthy conversation with this person at this time. But it's okay to say you're not okay. We don't have to, put on a fake facade for this person. And to be honest, and you can say, I'm not feeling okay right now. I don't want to talk about it, but maybe later. To being vulnerable, not not being not lying to this person, and really being your true self.
It is difficult though to not say you're fine, isn't it? Because you know that it's gonna evoke another question about you, and you may not necessarily want to process that. So it's hard to say, I'm not doing so well.
Mm-hmm. Right. And just as much as, when we want to talk to somebody, to not just assume that this person will ask us in depth about how our day is going. So if we want to voice our concerns or how we're feeling, to not just hope that this person will ask you, well, no, I know you're not okay. You're going through something. Talk to me about it. So you take that initiative and you take that first step into wanting to have this conversation with somebody else.
Do you have a suggestion as to whether or not we should press if someone says I'm not doing well, and then you say, oh, you want to talk about it? And they're like, I don't really want to talk right now. Would you suggest that we press forward, or we allow that to be the moment?
I think we give the person the option, right, to say, you're not doing okay. When you're ready to talk about it, I'm here. Or, when you're ready, let's, maybe have like a code word and say, when I say this phrase, okay, I'm ready to talk. Sometimes we may be shy or we may be embarrassed to really try and open up and say what our struggles really are. But, we're not mind readers. And so unless you voice what's going on, we're not going to know. And so to really try and be the best for this person that is reaching out to you. And if you need to reach out, then give the other person, don't set them up for failure either. So if you want to ask, then go ahead and ask, but also not to pry. When the person is ready, they'll open up and they'll
open up. Good, all good, all good. Thank you so much. And I want to say what's up to my girl, Annie. Annie, welcome on. Annie Burnup from Cambodia. She posted up that it's a good thing she has her calming forest blend in her diffuser right now for those comments that we put out. Yeah, it's a good thing. It's a good thing, Annie. Thank you for loving us, even for our shortcomings, my girl. Okay, let's get back into mental health and COVID. Those were your 3, 2, 1 tips, by the way. If you need to, when this is done, it's going to be rebroadcasted, so you can go back through and write down some of these fantastic tips. But we want to talk about mental health and COVID-19. I'm going to just jump right in here, Roxana. How is COVID-19 affecting mental health?
So just, a couple things to know, the fear, the worry, the stress, those are normal responses, right? So whenever we have a perceived threat, or a real threat, these are normal things to feel. So now it's normal and understandable that people are experiencing fear and anxiety in the context of COVID-19 pandemic. But from the COVID-19 pandemic, some of the results are, have been economic recession, and that's negatively affected people's mental health. It's created new barriers for people that possibly had already been receiving treatment or were suffering from a different mental illness or from different substance use disorders. And so add in this huge stressor of maybe losing a loved one or losing their job, losing their home, that can just make those illnesses that this person was already suffering from and make them a lot bigger, or also add on other illnesses from already existing illnesses.
Have you noticed any
Um,
particular people groups that are struggling more than others during this time?
there have been different groups that
Yeah,
experience it differently, right? So if we
right.
look at young adults, they're experiencing anxiety, depression, sleep disruptions, um, and possibly even some suicidal ideation when their schools maybe were closed down and they were unable to go to their universities or to college,
Yeah.
especially if it's something that they have been working for so long. Um, when we look at adults, working adults, we see possibly loss of job or
Mm,
income insecurity, especially if maybe they have a family to help support. And then you add in, like I said, a stressor of that job insecurity or home insecurities. Um, when we look at parents or caregivers of little ones that now the schools have closed down, so now they have their own, maybe their own concerns of housing or job loss. And then you throw in, well, now you have to also teach through remote learning. And
mm,
so there's different age groups that have their own, I want to say, their own concerns, and it's affecting them differently. Um, we also, um, there's also been an increase specifically within minority groups, such as whether it's an ethnic minority or
hmm.
with the LGBTQ plus community, where
Oh,
there
I
are
bet it's
less
been tough.
resources. And so
Yeah,
because there are less resources, they, we don't have so many things to that we have access to, or like I said in the beginning of our conversation, different communities might have less resources um, to kind of go around for everybody. And so then that becomes a barrier for maybe somebody that is seeking resources. Places are closed down, or with schooling, some homes don't have, an internet connection,
right.
or maybe parents or caregivers didn't have the education or the advanced education to now help their um, children or their young adults at home, and they have to assist them with their homework that they aren't unable to because they didn't have that sort of education. So there's different concerns within each age group and within each ethnic group as well.
Wow. Wow, it's good to be mindful about that as we the church as a church body needs to find ways to be more supportive, period. It's been really difficult because, usually a family would be able to come in on a weekend and maybe get some midweek as well connections with other human beings, and that that faith component is so powerful in the way that it brings support and hope and encouragement. With that completely removed because we're not in person, it leaves a huge vacuum for many families. But even still, if we were meeting, we need to find ways to create more support systems for groups of human beings, like the LGBTQ community. We need to find ways to bring some sense of support and kindness, goodness, and love to them, because we know that dealing with mental health in that particular group due to external issues, due to pressures, due to hate and violent crimes towards them is really painful. And it's the church's job to care for human beings. So we've just got to be better about that overall. But be mindful about it, especially during this time of COVID-19. How many people trying to cope with mental health during this COVID times? What are some of the ways they're doing it, both negative and positive? Roxana, if you could think of some negative ways that people are trying to cope with their mental health and positive ways that they're doing it during COVID-19.
So some negative ways would be to engage in any sort of unhealthy habits, right? So
Mm,
maybe there's substance use or possibly even self-harm. And so these things that are not healthy for you, that they're negative coping skills for maybe some individuals, um, out of either being unaware of healthy positive coping skills, or maybe at some point these sort of habits have been the only ones that they've been exposed to, or the only ones that they've learned, and in that maybe minute it works for them, but in the long run, like you said, these are negative ways to cope, because in the end it doesn't give you that safe and assuring outcome that you would hope to get from coping with something. And then as far as maybe some positive ways to cope with it would be to find something that works for you. In that maybe looking for some sort of hobby that you can do from home, even if it's as small as engaging in some of these coping skills that I talked about earlier, such as, like deep breaths and your grounding techniques, using your senses to kind of ground you back down to out of this, stress or anxiety moment. There's also, we can't, it's like a saying that you can't give from an empty cup, right? And so if you're trying to, be there for somebody else, if you're trying to, maybe be there for your family or for your friends, but you yourself are not utilizing safe, positive coping skills, and your tank is on empty, you can't really be there and give your best to somebody else if you're not giving your best to yourself. So we need to remember to utilize these techniques, maybe give this advice to others, but also remember to use it for ourselves.
So true. So true. I heard that part of a lifeguard skill is if they're saving someone and they're like near the pier and the waves are hitting, that they would put the victim between them and the pier so that they don't get knocked out. I don't know if this is true. This could be a total lie. I could be making this up because I'm not a lifeguard. I have a dad bod, not a lifeguard bod, and I swim just enough for me. But I've heard that they do that because if they get knocked out, then they can't help the person they're trying to save. Right. And kind of in the same form of what you were saying, that it's imperative that you are in good enough condition to help others. And so, making sure that your cup is full and that you're taking care of yourself can be really helpful to the world around us as you're trying to help somebody.
Right. And then I just wanted to also add that at any point, if somebody is maybe experiencing, just really high anxiety or high, fears, and they are in some sort of crisis where maybe their life or the life of others is in danger, to seek immediate help. Deep breaths can only take you so far. And so, to call 911, to call the National Suicide Prevention Line. There's many hotlines, crisis lines that can assist in many different concerns that you may have, whether it's self-harm, whether it's for just distress, whether it's for any sort of abuse. There are hotlines to please contact once and if those feelings are really high, or if those concerns are something that maybe some of these coping skills are.
Please pick up the phone. Please pick up the phone and reach out. Absolutely. One phone number that I learned last week was 211. I had no idea this existed. I'm a grown man, lived here most of my life, and I had no idea 211 existed. Call 211 if you need to. But their numbers, call 911, reach out, call somebody. Yeah, please don't suffer alone. And we can actually, this is something we as a community could do together. We really could bring more health back to individuals and to people groups if we're willing to work through it together. So let's do something real quick. We're at 4:54. Everybody, if you're jumping on here, I'm with Roxana, and we're talking about mental health during COVID-19 times. I'm going to pause to play a little game that I like to call Love One, Leave One. Roxana, I'm going to put a minute and a half up on the clock, and I want you to play with me. Are you willing to play with me? Okay, all of you watching along, this is a game I play every single week for this last year since we've been together through the COVID season. And it's basically, I give you two options. You choose which one you love. You'll say, I love this option, and we'll know that you meant you're leaving the other option. If you leave the other option, no one in the world ever again in the existence of humanity can use that thing. That thing disappears from existence completely. No one can use it ever again. So whichever one you do love, everyone can use that and enjoy it for their lifetime. All right. So I want you to get ready, get on your phones or whatever you're watching on, or if you're listening to, and type in some of your answers. I'll throw them up as you answer, and we're going to listen to Roxana give us some answers. Roxana, are you ready? Are you ready for this moment?
I'm ready.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'm nervous.
Okay. You should be. You should be. The fate of the world's interests and enjoyment is in your hands. All right. I'm going to put 1.5 minutes on the clock, and we're going to go. Ready? Here we go.
Yes.
Okay. Coffee or water?
Well, there's
We've
water
already
in
failed,
coffee.
Roxana. Okay. So coffee. All right. All right. Cookies and cream or vanilla ice cream?
Cookies and cream.
Okay. Okay. Justin Timberlake or The Weeknd?
Justin.
Oh, Justin,
Justin
you and my wife can get along just fine. Chug said coffee too. You guys, we need water in the world. Okay, moving on. Buffalo wings, chicken wings, or sushi?
Wings.
Wings. Okay, wings. Goodbye, sushi.
Wings.
All right. The beach or the mountains?
The beach.
Oh, the beach. Very good. Okay. Californian. Very good. Southern California. Sports or romantic movies? One of those has got to go for the rest of existence. Coffee is 98% water. You guys are
I'm gonna go
ridiculous.
with sports movies.
Sports movies. Okay. Very good. Very
only
good.
because I usually like the montage at the end of the movies where they like do an update on all the characters.
Good. You all did very well. A lot of you, I don't know if that means you wanted water or if you wanted coffee, but like Betsy said, coffee is 98% water. Thanks for that fact tip. Does that mean you want water or coffee? You guys shame on you guys. We need water. We need water, people. That was fun. Good job, everybody. Roxana, I like the way that you thought about each one of your options, and you analyzed it, and then you said, "This is what I'd like." Very good, very good. So you wanted sports movies, not romantic movies. All right. For all of you guys.
Yeah. Only because they're usually ends with that like montage, like the freeze frames of the different athletes and like the updates in their life, and so I'm a big sucker for that. I like that. I like
Those are
endings.
pretty inspiring though, like watching those little montages and like you know watching how like the Bad News Bears like wins. We're suckers. All of us are suckers for that. The underdog. We always root for the underdog. Yeah. That's why I'm rooting for the Lakers, everybody, by the way, because we're the underdogs. Because Brooklyn Nets, now listen, Roxana, I know this has nothing to do with anything, but I've got to put this out there to the world. The Brooklyn Nets has put together all of the bosses of all the levels on one team, and they're coming after our Lakers, and we're going to vanquish because that's what Southern California does. God bless you for that useless tidbit of information that none of you needed to hear. Let's roll back. We've got a couple more minutes. Everyone, thank you for playing along. We've got a couple more minutes here, and we're going to dive into a couple more questions. What are some things that we all can do as we transition out of pandemic lockdown to more or less in-person mode that can help people while they are in transition with mental health? And what can we do for ourselves that will be helpful?
Okay, so I have a couple. So I have, if you're struggling with mental health and you would like to maybe seek out help, to not be afraid to hopefully, with these different conversations that we're having, I think the conversation is moving toward being an open dialogue about mental health. So to not be afraid to ask for help, seek therapy, seek, whatever works for you, whatever resource works best for you. Seek the different resources. I also have to reach out to somebody who you trust and who you want to voice your wants and your needs to. Like I said, we're not mind readers. So to voice what it is that you need and what it is that you want. And then lastly, to do something for yourself. So whether it's taking a few deep breaths in between traveling from work in your home, during your lunch break, during homework assignments or errands, to take that time for yourself. Buy yourself, your favorite drink, put up your favorite song on the radio, and just take that moment for yourself. And then also, it's oftentimes easier to share this information that we're hearing or any advice that we may hear online or that we read about, but to utilize that for ourselves as well, to try and be the best version of ourselves for others.
Wow. Fantastic. Thank you so much. That is great information for all of us to digest and to take with us. We want to thank you all for joining us. This has been a great time for all of us together. I do want to ask you one last question. Oh, you know what? Jolene asked a great question, so I want to throw it up here for you to answer before we close out. Has the caseload affected the workers in terms of being able to reach every client? I take it that we're referring to Maryvale. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the concern has been the way in which we're able to reach out, right? So we are able to access everyone through our telehealth, which is through phone calls, through, face-to-face online like this. However, some of, the families that come to us maybe need more of that assistance of being face-to-face in person. And that's something that, most times is out of our control with the different protocols in place. As far as reaching out to everybody, we can, but it's the way in which we are doing it that sometimes might be the barrier for some families due to, internet or due to, them wanting to be in person. But there's only so much that, we can do within the protocols.
And if there's a family or an individual or young adults that are watching along today that live in the San Gabriel Valley would like to connect with Maryvale, what's the best way they can do that?
The best way would be to go to our website or also to call our main line at our Maryvale site.
Very good. Very good. So if you're needing that, feel free to reach out to them, call them, jump on Google them, and get onto their website and get the information you need and connect with them there. As we close out, we're already 2 minutes past. Wow. Today blew by. I want to ask you one last question, as I do every one of my guests. Could you share some words of encouragement or inspiration for those who are watching along or maybe catching this a little bit later about mental health, especially during this season of the pandemic?
Something to share is that you're not alone. We're not alone. We're all going through this pandemic together. Our stressors, our stories may look different. They're going to vary from person to person, but we shouldn't compare what our concerns look like, what our situations look like. If we ever do need to ask for help or ask for resources, to please do so. And then for everybody else to do so with an open heart, to not be judgmental about the situations that we may be hearing or the situations that we may be seeing in our media or on our social medias, to just be open and be accepting of others and their situations at this moment.
Wow. Roxana, it has been a great pleasure hanging out with you for this hour. And as her closing words have been shared with you, you are not alone. And if you are looking out for others, make sure that you're taking care of them well and being open to conversation and helping people along the way. This is really what the church should be all about. All of us, like the community of faith. We've got to be the kind of people that are coming alongside people and loving them and caring for them and watching after them. So make sure that that's a part of your life. And if you're struggling through something, you're not alone. Please reach out to somebody. Don't be ashamed. Don't be embarrassed about it. We've all got something to struggle with. So go for it. Get courageous, but don't sit there and allow that isolation to drag your spirit down. You and I were meant to live in this world and live together and build together and grow together. Roxana, I want to thank you so much for having spent your afternoon with me. And I want to thank all of you out there watching along to spend your time with us. If you need to, this is on Rewind. I do want to remind you, May 16th to May 23, we're doing the Thrive Week of Prayer. Dr. Myron Edmonds is going to be our speaker for the devotionals, and LA County Department of Mental Health will be running our workshop presentations for our youth. There's going to be a youth room, so you can have your youth group jump into that youth room and spend time there. For our young adults and for our families, we're going to do presentations right on the live stream so that you'll catch all that. You're going to want to stay in tune with us as we push into May, and we want to make sure that you know that there are people out here who care for you, that we're praying for you, that we love you. And until next Tuesday, when we're hanging out with Diane Ugie and Eugene Abano, till that week, I want you, my friends, to stay safe, to stay well, be good, and remember, you're not alone. Roxana, thank you for your time with me today.
Hi, thank you. Thank you for
Would you be down to come back on sometime?
I would. Yeah, this would be nice.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Okay, my friends, peace and love. God bless you.